Hey there, if you are the exhausted referee in your household or tired of the sibling rivalry, maybe the put downs, the pinching, the all out fighting that flares up, this video is specifically for you. So, today, here's what I'm going to cover. I'm going to cover the best ways to take rivalry out of siblings. But first, I want to give you a crazy fact. It's a crazy parenting fact. That's my dog. Sibling rivalry is one of the most powerful ways for your kids to get their basic needs met. This is why it's so hard to change. So, let me give you a quick crash on something I go into great depth on in my Strong Willed Child Parenting Bootcamp. And this is actually in my self-esteem motivators. So, there are two main psychological needs our kids have, and they're looking for this all the time. And they can actually get these needs met in a positive way or a negative way. It's belonging, feeling loved, feeling accepted no matter what they do, mistakes and all. And the next one is feeling significant, feeling like they're contributing in a powerful way. So again, if we think about this, what does this have to do with sibling rivalry? Well, it's this. Sometimes within siblings, there can be an underlying belief, not even conscious, that only one person can be the best at something. So if you think about maybe your own siblings, I want you to think often there is one who is really good at something, and there's another who's the best at being the worst at it or good at something completely different. This looks like you've got the academic and you've got the jock. You've got the musician. You have got the socialite, the one who's in drama. The importance of this is, again, our kids are constantly navigating, jockeying for position, almost like chickens kind of finding their pecking order. And sometimes they'll find it by putting down others, especially if their self-esteem isn't being established in a healthy way. This is why when moms come to me, almost always they come to me and there is one child who is the problem child. If only this child's rude child behavior would go the way of the dodo bird, or finally they would just listen for once, all their problems would be solved. But here's the thing. I am often just as concerned about the good child in their family, the easy child in their family, as I am about the other. Why? Because often that good child, that flexible child, that one you don't have to even give reminders to, often is getting their self-esteem out of feeling significance of always being the best. And here's the problem with always needing to be the best. That one time when you're not the best, that one time where you don't get the A, the one time where you're not number one, where you don't win the game, they can be devastated, a complete puddle. So, food for thought. Do you see this? Just curious, do you see this showing up in your own family, with your own kiddos? Anything to be on the watch for? So, let's move into how to stop the fighting. So the first things first, I want to give you a few tips here. Stop being the referee. So what do I mean by this? I mean by they're fighting and you're jumping into the ring with them and you're separating them, saying, you go there, you go there. Now, of course, if someone is physically seriously hurt, obviously you have to attend to them. But let me give you an example. I realized many decades ago when I was caregiving for two brothers, I was basically their live-in nanny. And they were at each other's throats all the time, especially when we were in the car going to music class. And very often I realized I was on the highway, they're in the back, it would start with a put down, then it would escalate to like a pinch, and then it would go to punching. And often I'd be driving, I'd be on the highway, and I'd be like, hey, stop doing that. Come on, you guys. It wasn't safe for anyone. Plus, I'm a highly sensitive individual. And so just the yelling, especially after a day of when I was at work, I was actually counseling at a local university. I was exhausted and it would just take my adrenaline through the roof. So one day I decided enough is enough. And I sat them down. I'm like, hey, just to let you know, I've noticed that often when we're in the car and especially when we're driving to music class, you guys are fighting in the car. I just wanted to let you know it's actually not safe for me as the driver. So the next time it happens, as soon as you guys start fighting, I'm just going to pull over. I'm not going to say anything. And I'm not going to leave until you show me that you've stopped fighting. It's quiet in the car and it's safe for me to leave. Once it happens for about 30 seconds, then I'm happy to drive. So you might be thinking, wait a minute, Kelly, but then we're going to be late for music class. And it's true. This is my question for you. Is it worth being late for music class a couple of times if you're teaching a really fabulous lesson? If you're going to actually shift some of this fighting that's driving you crazy. For me, it was a heck yeah. You get to decide for you. I like being on time. So I also called their music teacher ahead of time and I'm like, hey, just to let you know, we're doing something new. And for the next few weeks, we might be late to music class. Is that okay? She was like, yeah. So the first time after I said this, of course they start fighting. They're like beating on each other, etc. And I pull over. They don't even notice I pull over, but I came prepared. I actually had my book. So I opened it and I had earplugs, which I put in, and I just started reading. And it took like quite a few minutes before they realized the car had even stopped. And then suddenly one started giggling. And the other one's like, is she going to go? What's happening? Why is she? Oh, right. Yeah. And so after about 30 seconds, I turn on the car and I started again. And about 30 seconds in, one started pinching the other. And as soon as it happened, I pulled over again. The amazing thing was the sense of peace and control I felt. I was like, oh my gosh, this is like magic. It was fabulous for me. And it actually got to the point where I actually liked what I was reading and wished they'd actually continue because I had my earplugs in. So food for thought. The second thing I want you to keep in mind is to stop taking sides and thinking you know exactly what happened. So often we don't know what happened 2 minutes before. We don't know the kind of day one had. We don't know that the other has been putting the other one down for half an hour before we're on the scene. I know this really hit me was I was actually doing dishes and I have a little ornamental mirror up on the shelf. And the living room was kind of in the other room, but there's a doorway to it. And the youngest starts yelling bloody murder. Stop hitting me. And just the angle he was in, I could actually see him in the mirror in the living room and realized that his older brother was nowhere near him. And I was like, interesting. So yes, important. The third thing, stop thinking you need to immediately deal with it and have all the answers. You don't. I'm going to give you an example of a client of mine. So Marcus, he's the dad of 3. I've been really helping support him and his family, especially his wife. But one of the things that was driving Marcus bonkers was that his 3 kiddos are constantly fighting over the remote control. So the next time it happened, we worked on it. Marcus just said, hey, that's a tricky one. Let's discuss it at dinner, and took the remote control and put it up on a high shelf and left the room. Now, the important thing about this is he didn't have to respond right away. And what's really critical about that is that when we often respond right away or we start getting into the battle with them, often our own self-regulation goes completely to the side. And we start to get frustrated. We start to get angry. We might start to put them down and say, hey, I told you many times, like, are you not listening? Like, why is this not going through to you? So yes, can you be a model of regulating yourself? We talk all about self-regulating our kids, but often it's the parent, it's us that needs the self-regulation. So we can actually model for our kids what it looks like to be a healthy, patient human being and parent. So I want to hear from you. If you have appreciated some of these tips here, please give me a thumbs up. But also, I want to know from you, what are you struggling with? Are there any tips here that you think, that is good food for thought? I want to try it. If so, I definitely want to hear from you. And if you're not yet a member of my Stubborn Child Solutions Facebook group, I invite you to come on over. That's where I often answer specific questions so you can get your specific customized answers to your issues that are happening at home right now. If you haven't heard this lately, thank you for all you do as a parent, day in, day out. I know it's not a sprint, it is a marathon, and you, my friend, are doing it. Take care. Bye-bye.